Heyo, good evening and welcome to a special Friday night episode of Omnibros Live. Omnidog and petitioning for an Inhumans Omnibus here with you tonight. How you doing, petitioning?
Still petitioning, still rocking. A little tired because it's Friday and all the week-long streaming kind of caught up with me, and I've been awake since 5 in the morning, so I'm like tired. I'm on my reserve battery. So after this, I'm just going to lay in bed and just do nothing and fall asleep.
I am not feeling well myself, and I am giving it my all strictly because we wanted to do a show at least 15 minutes on Neal Adams. I felt compelled that we should at least talk about him and the impact he made on the industry. Speaking of the industry leader in online retailing is InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 50% off. Well, you can get them up to 48% off in new releases. 2% customer loyalty gets those up to 50% off. Then if you go into the spring and damages sale, there's like 65% off books. There we go. Okay, so loyalty discount at the end of every month, we give away a $50 gift card courtesy of In-Stock Trades. Good for $50 worth of credit at In-Stock Trades. We gave it away on Monday. Congratulations to our winner, who I'm forgetting who that was.
Justin.
Okay, thank you. So that's a good thing, a nice thing that IST does for us. And $50 or more in shipping, $50 or more in ordering gets you a free shipping in the United States. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com.
Yeah.
There we go.
Perfect. Let me remove that. There we go.
Well, I know that we it's kind of a spur of the moment Friday show. I don't know how many viewers we're going to get. Thank you, Hayden. I appreciate I always appreciate when people watch, especially at the last minute for this. Thank you, Hayden. Thank you to Colin, William, Gary, James, you guys for all tuning in. And there could be viewers tuning in afterwards too. So I want to thank you guys ahead of time for watching. What are you looking for?
No, because I had my tablet on.
Oh,
I didn't want to distract anybody.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we we've got a Friday show, and I feel like we should talk. There have been a lot of. I feel like a lot of legends have passed away in the past year or two. I mean, some of them have even passed away because of COVID. I'm not familiar with what took Neal Adams, but I feel like let's concentrate on his life.
Yeah.
I experienced the change in comics firsthand. People have heard me talk about it forever, but I can't overstate enough the importance of Neal Adams, and we're the minister and I are going to do a special show on him tomorrow night too.
Awesome.
Where I'll have, if I'm feeling better, hopefully I'll have all kinds of art to show of him. But I feel like if you, unfortunately, a lot of his original stuff hasn't been available to the current comics audience, much in the way that George Lucas tinkered with Star Wars, and you guys haven't seen the original Star Wars. Neal Adams was given free reign to retouch and recolor his Batman, and that's like one of my most infamous episodes because I didn't care for it.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. But it was never a personal shot at Neal Adams.
No.
It was, was upset because you didn't get to see the real, since it was retouched and recolored, you didn't get to see the real drawings and art at the time, which were so creative and so different in such a trend-setting way. I mean, I'm not overstating it when I say he changed the industry as far as art goes, because his feeling was, he was often quoted as saying, if superheroes existed, my art is the way they would look, because he brought a really lifelike look to his superheroes. And the first time that I saw it was in a 1968 World's Finest, so I would have been 9. I can still picture it, and I almost want to say you can. I feel like you can see the original art of that somewhere. The only I do have Tales of the Demon, which I think has been reprinted, which has the Ra's al Ghul, the Dennis O'Neil written Ra's al Ghul
the run of that,
with unretouched Neal Adams art. So why was it so? What was so groundbreaking about his art is because up until then, up until he showed up, it was very cartoony art. This is especially he made a big change on Batman. Started off in World's Finest. As far as I know, that's the first place I read him. So he drew Batman and Superman, and it was astonishing. Even as a 9-year-old, I was impacted by how real and lifelike those drawings were. And then from there, I believe they gave him Batman with Dennis O'Neil when they when Dennis O'Neil's writing turned him into the Dark Knight and introduced Ra's al Ghul, whose name I had been mispronouncing for 45 years until I watched Batman the Animated Series, because I always thought it was Ra's al Ghul. But with Adams drawing it and O'Neil writing it, Batman was completely transformed from this, a kind of goofy Batman 66 character into the beginnings of the Dark Knight. And the stories got more serious. The art was very serious. It was breathtakingly realistic.
Yeah.
And he then, from Batman, I believe they gave him a lot of cover work, especially for Superman. I remember, because the famous Kryptonite Nevermore cover for Superman was by Adams, and then he really made his mark on me, especially with his Green Lantern, Green Arrows issue 76, which I remember looking at in the newsstands, not the newsstand, in the spinner rack, which is the only place I could find comics at the time. And I'm guessing this was 1970, so I was 11. And I thought, who is Green Arrow to be shooting out the Green Lantern's battery? Who the hell does he think he is? I was 11, and I opened it, and I was like, whoa. I mean,
I can imagine.
like dust had been, the dust and scales had been blown away from my eyes, and it was Adam's artwork and Giordano's pens. It was Adam's pencils, and Giordano tightened those pencils up. But then, of course, O'Neill's story, that first book, was all about racism. And as an 11-year-old kid, what did I know? I didn't know anything. And it brought a real social conscience to comic books. In my opinion, that was, I had that whole run 76 through 89. There was maybe a filler issue in there. I know there was like a filler issue with a Adams cover in that run that had like Golden Age stuff in it because he fell behind. His work was so painstaking that he fell behind. But you can still get, now here's the thing, you can still get the Green Lantern and Green Arrow. It's in a deluxe Hard Traveling Heroes. I don't know if it's still available in the Absolute. There we go. Thank you. They became known as Hard Traveling Heroes, and they tackled all kinds of social issues, which, you know, as an 11 and 12-year-old, I was just living in my 11 and 12-year-old life. So I didn't know right from wrong, or I mean, I knew right from wrong, but I of course I hadn't experienced racism. And so this was like, besides seeing it on television, it invaded comic books to me, not invaded, but infiltrated the issue of racism. I'm like, wow, what is going on? And try to remember when you read those stories today that back then it was a big deal to tackle racism in a comic book. It was, yeah, there's the issue that I have. I will never sell it. It's going to be buried with me.
That's awesome.
If my wife decides to cremate me, she's allowed to sell this, but I'm never selling this book because it really changed my life, and it changed comic books too.
It took it to another level. Like, it opened the floodgates for a more mature type of storytelling.
Exactly right, Gio. Exactly right. And the problem with Batman is nobody has seen. DC hasn't reprinted the Silver Age, late Silver Age, early Bronze Age, which is where that Batman fell into, 68 through 71, 72. All we have is the Batman one that Neal Adams retouched and recolored.
Yeah.
Which, it's his art. I mean, it's fine for him to do it, but my beef with it was that it robbed the current audience of seeing how powerful it was back in the day. Even with those regular old colors back in 1969, 1970, it was still very impactful. And the problem is DC's way behind on, these are, oh, what a great job you're doing on showing his covers. Nicely done.
Thank you.
That is some really nice work you're doing. The problem is that DC's behind in releasing the Silver Age Batman. We haven't yet gotten the first volume of Silver Age Batman, and that's like, the Silver Age for Batman was like starting in 1955. So we're a ways away from seeing the original Neal Adams art. And that is really, that's kind of heartbreaking to me that we can't, because when that stuff is republished, you will see, as soon as you finish the story right before Neal Adams starts Batman, the change in the art. Here's like one of the most famous.
It was pretty iconic
in comics.
Yeah.
You'll see once it's in omnibus form, you'll see what we were reading at the time on the, in the first part of the Omni, and then boom, there Neal Adams artwork will be all of a sudden showing you how monumental. There's the other cover that's famously great. You'll see how monumental of a change the art really was at the time. I think omnibus form is the best format, rather than like a Neal Adams Batman Omni. It needs to be the late Silver Age, early Bronze era, so you can see what came before it and how cartoony and goofy it was. Batman was fighting like the Grasshopper Gang, and Joker and Riddler weren't deadly at all. They were just goofballs.
Yeah, it was pretty
Except for,
silly.
yeah. Now this is another really, really famous cover. It was silly, and they sort of Batman 66, the TV show, didn't help because it was really popular, and so DC didn't think you needed any kind of maturity in comics. So I think it's exciting to think of, oh, look at that. I don't even have that book. Is that Mighty Mouse there?
I think so.
Who is that? I've never seen that book. That's awesome.
I've never seen that book. It's pretty old. I think it was like a magazine back then.
Yeah. And so you'll see, now you can get the same effect if you get X-Men Volume 2, because it will show you the early-ish X-Men, and then Neal Adams takes over, and you'll see what a difference it makes in the art. That's probably the best thing you can do now, is to buy Volume 2 of the X-Men to see him drawing the X-Men, and how dynamic the X-Men really looked. Yeah, that's the cover I was talking about. What a brilliant cover that is. It's Atomic Mouse, a Charlton character. Okay, thank you, Greg Blob.
Thank you.
I'm not familiar with Atomic Mouse, but as bad as DC has been at collecting it, Marvel's collected it brilliantly, because you can open that X-Men Volume 2 and see the impact from the story before, and then when Neal Adams takes over.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get the credit I think he deserves, because I don't think he was. I feel like Chris Claremont is given the credit for revitalizing the X-Men, and rightly so.
Yeah.
He also drew the Inhumans.
That is also true.
Yeah, he had several early issues of the Inhumans. Did they share a book with Black Widow or something? Am I remembering right? Or
yes, it was like a 2-in-1.
Yeah,
Black Widow and the backups were Inhuman stories.
Right, and so he drew the Inhumans, and yeah, there we go. Stanley, Neal Adams, and Tom Palmer was the inker. Okay, yeah, so he drew the Inhumans, but he I guess he's more famous in some circles because of Batman, and of course Denny O'Neil has something to do with that, because the stories in Batman and Green Lantern were so powerful, and his art was so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a long time unless DC does something to jump from 1955 to like 1968, which I guess they could. But it makes me sad that people won't be able to see in book form, just boom, what a big change it was, how it really revolutionized, I think, the comics industry, his art. And then of course Denny O'Neil's stories also I have that issue too. Yeah, and Guy Gardner was also introduced. Besides John Stewart, Guy Gardner was introduced in Denny O'Neil's run of Green Lantern, Green Arrow. Guy Gardner was a much different guy than he turned into. He was, John Stewart still has traces of what his earlier, like in this introduction issue, he was, in this issue, he's famous for saying that the oath that Green Lantern says before the power battery is corny, except that he really digs the "Beware my power" line. Yeah. So that's why this is called "Beware my power," because that's what John Stewart hooked onto. He really loved that part of the oath. So, wait a minute. Am I wrong? Was Guy Gardner introduced earlier?
When
was Guy Gardner introduced? I might be.
Guy Gardner.
I feel like that might be a Gil Kane cover. Check out what. Let me see.
Guy Gardner. Hold on.
Was that 59 that he was? I don't know. What
59. Green Lantern 59.
Okay, so it wasn't Neal Adams and Denny O'Neil.
No.
Because I can picture the cover and that's not Neal Adams art in my head. So I take
Murphy
it back.
Anderson.
I shove it all back in my mouth. I feel like that might have been Gil Kane or I can't remember. But
Gil Kane and Murphy Anderson cover.
Thank you. Got the Gil Kane part.
Yeah.
But this panel.
This one's iconic.
This is an iconic panel, and this is the panel that shocked the hell out of me at 11 years old because it's so perfectly written, but it's also, look at the perspective and the angle and the face on this guy, the pain that this African-American has been through. You know, I hear you work for the blue skins and you saved the orange skins. Why haven't you done anything for the black skins? And can you explain that to me? And he says, I can't. And
I can't.
Yeah. And to me, that really shocked me and amazed me that there could be, that could exist, because I was used to, you know, Batman in space and Superman getting chased around by Lois Lane and getting exposed to blue kryptonite or whatever. And comics took a much more serious turn there for a while, into the mid 70s. And then it got kind of, I don't think comics got their mojo back again until Dark Knight Returns and The Watchmen. But that's also my own personal opinion. But yeah, there you have the first Havoc issue. And he did a ton of stuff. He did a ton of stuff for Marvel, for X-Men.
Yeah. Which one do you prefer more, his DC work or Marvel? Well,
I grew up a DC kid, so I'm more familiar with it.
Yeah.
I've read all of the X-Men issues that he's drawn, but it's still X-Men, and it's still, you know, a very long-running soap opera.
Yeah.
X-Men's always been like that, and so it's hard. It's not new reader friendly. This particular time in X-Men history is not necessarily new reader friendly, whereas back then DC didn't have a long-running soap opera like that, and it was more standalone stories. So I'm more familiar with the DC stuff, but I appreciate the stuff he did with X-Men.
He was even doing modern stuff recently, like this Fantastic Four.
He did that with Mark Waid.
Yeah.
Now, see, there's a book I don't have. Taylor Talks Comics, I saw him in the chat, told me there's a Treasury edition of this out, so I gotta get that.
Yeah.
If it's Mark Waid written and Neal Adams drawn, and you can see right there, Neal Adams still pretty much has it. He can still draw at his age. So there's, as I can't think of a better tribute to anybody than to say they revolutionized the industry. He changed it. Dennis O'Neil helped, of course, his stories did, but as far as illustrations for comic books, there was no one like Neal Adams on the scene at the time, and it would be a long time before anybody got close to the realism that he naturally drew. I have that too.
Can't forget about this, another iconic piece.
That is an iconic piece, and the funny story is that there's famous people all throughout the front of that cover. Yeah, Rick Ray's right. There's famous people and an index on the inside to the people in the cover. Jimmy Carter's in front. I have no idea why Sonny Bono is in front of Batman, but they turned the bald guy, and I think that's Richard Pryor there. They turned the bald guy. They gave him a a Tootsie Roll, a lollipop, and made him Telly Savalas
Oh, really?
because and gave him just the back look
Yeah.
because Neal felt he couldn't get Telly Savalas right. As hard as he tried, he couldn't quite get
Wow.
Telly I'm sorry, Lex Luthor right.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, does he have the popsicle there? I mean, popsicle.
I think he just has his fingers close to his mouth, but he doesn't have anything.
Okay, so they took Telly. Okay, so that's what it is. He couldn't get a good likeness of Telly Savalas, who was famous on TV at the time, and turned him into Lex Luthor.
Okay.
I think is what this is, because they used to have him with a lollipop that I don't know, Kojak or whatever but Telly Savalas was famous at the time.
Yeah.
Couldn't get, that's what it was. He couldn't get Telly Savalas's face right, so they turned it into Luthor. And also interesting is that Sonny's not sitting with Cher. Cher's way up here in the stands, and Sonny's got ringside seats.
Interesting. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of funny stuff if you can look at it, look through it. It's fun to see who you can recognize, and then there's an index on the inside. I botched up my explanation of the ball guy, so sorry.
No, we got it.
Yeah, and Carter has front row seats. Who is that? I wonder who that is right behind him. Like Coretta
let me see
Scott.
if I can find the.
I have the issue. I could go get the issue right now. I know right where it is, but
I found the image.
Oh, okay. Who is that right behind Jimmy Carter?
It says here, Jimmy is 171. That would be Rosaline Carter.
That's Rosalind Carter?
Supposedly. Let me share this image.
She has darker skin there. Okay, well, that makes sense that it's Rosalind. Okay.
Over here, 171. Yeah. So take a look at all the names here.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, and he drew every single one of those. So that's actually, I've been on half an hour spewing, and I only thought I could make 15 minutes.
Hey, when we get passionate about something, we can go on and on and on.
That's true, because he was a childhood idol of mine because of his artwork, which is what to me made the redoing. Oh, well, you can also find his art unretouched in the Dead Man Omnibus.
That's right.
And that's interesting, because as much fun as we like to make fun of Odyssey, the Batman story he wrote, as a writer, he's a good artist, is the nicest thing I could say about his writing. But Dead Man was the first issue of Dead Man was drawn by Carmine Infantino with somebody else on inks. But then Adams took over on the second issue. Strange Adventures 105, Strange Adventures 107, in there somewhere was the first Dead Man. And not only did Adams take over the art, which was amazing, but he took over the writing. And I will say that the writing was actually very good on Dead Man. He was younger, and I felt he understood the character more, if that makes sense. He had a feel for who the character was, and so those stories in the Dead Man book that Neal Adams wrote are actually really pretty good.
I've never read that stuff, but I am interested because I do like the character.
Yeah, and it's Dead Man's always sort of tried to find his place amongst. He's not an A character. He's not a D character. He's like a B-ish character.
Mm-hmm.
They've made good use of him recently in Justice League Dark. In New 52, Justice League Dark, they make really good use out of Dead Man. But for Neal Adams not being the strongest writer later in his life, this early Deadman stuff was actually really good, and I'm really happy to tell anyone out there that if they want to see really great Adams art unretouched, Deadman is the thing to get, or X-Men, the second volume, Tales of the Demon, whatever form it is in now, you should try and get it. I have it. Look at Black Bolt there, right on, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and Medusa.
That stuff's great.
And
I really love this.
Karnak and Gorgon.
Mm-hmm.
I have Tales of the Demon when it came out in trade paperback in the 90s or something, and I'm pretty sure it's been reissued in some format. And I'm gonna go on record, even though I don't own it, I'm gonna say it's unretouched and unrecolored, because I think they gave him that omnibus and the Batman omnibus and said, okay, do whatever you want. He also there was a Deadman collection where he completely redrew for some reason the second issue that he wrote. Maybe it was the first issue he wrote, but in the Deadman omnibus, all of it's unretouched, unrecolored Neal Adams art. So you can get a flavor for what it looked like just left alone.
That's awesome. This comment I agree with. If I'm being honest, I haven't read all of his work, but I still have the greatest respect on the impact he had on the legacy, both in his work and what he did for creators' rights.
Hayden brings up a good point.
Yep.
That's a very good point, Hayden, because he was like a bellwether for creators' rights early on. He was one of the ones that
he worked with the Superman rights when the movie was coming out, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, he headed that to get the rights for Siegel and Schuster's families.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a spearhead for modern creators getting more credit, or not credit, but money for their own work. And he had a lot of his own creator-owned stuff, his own creator-owned imprints and stuff. But yeah, Hayden's right. He took a lead role in creators' rights, and I think in the latter part of his life, he also helped a lot of online retailers, like Trinity. Trinity Comics, I know he helped them specifically, doing covers for, or signings for, promoting, showing up at cons and hawking their books. He would not only help creators, but he'd help small retailers that were just trying to get a foothold in the industry. So he did a lot of work giving back too, which is why I think he was so respected, not only for his artwork, but for his work for his fellow creators and retailers.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple of comments here. When I was a child and my father introduced me to comics, Neal Adams, George Perez, Denise O'Neil were the first names that I decided to learn and then look for their stories.
Nice. Very nice. Good taste.
You could also argue he had the most iconic X-Men run before Claremont and Byrne.
I don't think you need to argue that. I think you can just say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first exposure to Neal Adams was the Kree Skrull War arc. Adams really made his stamp on both Marvel and DC. I know him most because of the DC stuff. I haven't read a lot of his Marvel work. So it's very interesting to me. I kind of want to check that out more in depth.
Yeah, I need to check out his Marvel stuff. I actually haven't read the Kree Skrull War arc recently, so I need to reread it to get more familiar with it. Um, yeah, the
Hairy
hairy
chested
chested
Batman, baby.
He
Hell
was
yeah.
all man, that Batman that Neal Adams drew.
What up, Jess and Gio? Lionheart, welcome. I met Neal Adams at Boston Comic Con a few years back. He signed a print of Rogue that he drew. I still have that print. Keep it, man.
What a great keepsake.
Yeah.
What a great thing to own. Yeah, I know. Now I really regret. I saw him at every con I ever went to. He'd set up a booth, and he'd always have stuff for sale, and I just never got anything from him. And now, of course, I really regret it. So that's great, Lionheart, that you were able to get that. Is there anybody in the chat that, or Geo, maybe you can find out if Tales of the Demon got
I can look that up.
re-released? Maybe it was called something different, but it was the whole Ra's al Ghul saga, including Talia falling in love with Batman and everything. I mean, everything leading up to. As far as I ever was concerned, Talia was always his first real girlfriend, despite Bruce Wayne dating Vicky Vale back in the 50s.
Yeah. The hardcover came out for Tales of the Demon in March of 2020.
Oh, okay.
When that hardcover came out.
And do you know if it's still in print? You can check Amazon for that.
And Barnes and Nobles has it. And
that's good.
Amazon.
I should upgrade.
Amazon. I think Amazon does not have it. I may be mistaken. But Barnes and Nobles, it does say. Oh no! Wait! It is out of stock. Sorry.
I thought so. Yeah, that's been out of print, and maybe now they'll reprint it, and you'll at least get another chance to see what his Batman looked like.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're gonna make more editions of other stuff as well.
Well, I wish they'd really jump the line and go to the starting at 68. Do a late silver, early Bronze Age Batman and get all that. And for that matter, DC really needs to do that for Superman too, because that's when they turned Superman into an interesting character for the first time in a long time. Was that Kryptonite Nevermore?
With the iconic cover.
That was Dennis O'Neil with Kurt Swan art, and that was amazing. That was the first time Superman had been interesting in a while. And it was around 1970, 71, I'm guessing.
Wow, it's been a while. Late Night Rip, I hope I said that right, was his first Batman 219. I don't know.
I think his first Batman was that when Robin says, when I say Robin says he dies, he dies. I think that was his first Batman. I think. Well, let me see. I have Tales of the Demon right here.
Yeah. First Batman.
Tales of the Demon. Tales of the Demon. Tales of the Demon. Look how old this.
That's an old school trade, right?
Oh boy, it's the Saga of Ra's al Ghul, so it's already a reprint. It's called the Saga of Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul. The first one's by Bob Brown. So when does the detective show up? Daughter of the Demon. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was when Robin. It was that Robin one that you showed with the green cover. When I say Robin dies, he dies.
Oh, yeah. Let me share the cover again. There we go. This
Yeah.
one.
What number is that?
232.
232. Yeah, as far as I know, that was his first Batman.
Okay.
And so even though this is even though this Tales of Ra's al Ghul is Ra's al Ghul is what this is a reprint of. So there's other artists in it too. But Neal Adams has a lot of his art in here. But this is all Ra's al Ghul stuff. So it's not I mean, Neal Adams is kind of in and out. They didn't show any of the covers or anything, but here's where they introduced the Lazarus Pit and stuff. So this is just Ra's al Ghul, which is why I think it's and this has other artists in it, which is why I think it's so much better for an omnibus to come out, which will have all of his stuff. And you can see it wasn't necessarily a long run on Batman. I'm not saying it was like 50 issues. It could have only been 9 to 12 issues because his run on Green Lantern eventually stopped because he just couldn't keep up with the monthly schedule.
Yeah.
So, but this would be a good place if you wanted to see. I mean, this is the old trade paperback, but this is where you can see unretouched Neal Adams stuff in its glory, what it should be like, and you can actually compare it to the other artists in here and see what a difference his art makes.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
By the way, I looked online at one of those wiki pages, and 219 was Neal Adams' first cover for Batman. He was the cover artist. So he worked on it from 2009, from issue 219 to 232 or 238 as a cover artist, and then 232 was when he debuted as the penciler.
Okay. When I first read him was World's Finest in 1968. I don't remember how many issues he did. I don't think, well, I have no idea how World's Finest sales were. It had Superman and Batman, and to me that was great.
Yeah.
But the stories were still a little bit goofy. But his art brought a realism to him. And then I think the only omnibus I can think of that has at least one or two of his unretouched Batman stories is going to be the first Brave and Bold omnibus. That definitely has at least 2 or 3, not more than that, but it has at least 2 or 3 Batman stories for Brave and Bold that Neal Adams did.
Is this Neal Adams? Because I'm going to be like a total noob here. I had no idea that he did the cover for Spectre. I knew of the run.
Yeah. That's another good book that he drew. Yeah, that's Neal Adams.
Okay.
Where's my Spectre? Here's my Spectre right here.
So is that Spectre Omnibus, all of it is Neal Adams?
No, he
showcased
like 60, brought the Golden Age Spectre into the Silver Age. And the first issues, I think, were probably Murphy Anderson. Let's see. Murphy Anderson, yeah. A lot of them were Murphy Anderson, and then Neal Adams didn't take over until here's Spectre number 3, Spectre number 2, was Neal Adams. Yeah, here's the one that you were showing.
Oh, wait, there we go.
Yeah, that was number 2.
Oh, that's
I feel
awesome.
like number 1, I will learn as I turn the page. Yeah, no, that was Murphy Anderson that did Spectre number 1. And Murphy Anderson was a good artist, and so was Kurt Swan. But they were a little bit more in the typical comic book style. And then you've got Spectre number 2. This is unretouched, uncolored Neal Adams with the Spectre. I feel like maybe he did 7 or so issues of the Spectre. Let's see. DC, give me they gave me a table of contents. That helps. It's got Brave and Bold in here too, by Carmine Infantino. Oh, sorry. Okay. Spectre 1, artist Neal Adams. 2, 3, 4. Oh, and he wrote Spectre on issue 5. Okay, so he wrote he drew issues 2 through 5 of Spectre.
Nice.
Yeah, this is one of the better DC Omnis out there because the early Spectre stories were interesting. Actually, I did a whole review and overview of this book if you want to go to OmniDog's Vault library.
Perfect. There you go.
Because Spectre went through several incarnations in this, and Jim Aparo also was a great artist for Spectre when he took over an adventure. But this is another place where you can find unretouched Neal Adams art.
Olaf Birthday Bash says, my first encounter with comic book creators was a 79 Houston Comic Book Convention, SuperCon. The only 2 guests were Neal Adams and George Perez.
Wow, you got to meet both of them? I never
really
got to meet
badass.
George Perez. That still bothers me. That Omar and I went to the 2019 Baltimore Con, and I went there specifically so I could meet George Perez.
Yeah,
and that was the first con that he canceled because of his health.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm just. What is Neal Adams' latest work? I would think that it was probably that Mark Waid Fantastic Four.
I think so.
I think that was probably his last work.
Antithesis, I think it's called.
Yeah, Antithesis. Say it again.
Antithesis. Suffering
Antithesis. Antithesis. Yeah. Yeah, I need to get right on the horn and get that in my wish list from InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 48% on a lot of current releases, with your loyalty discount adding 2% to that. That adds up to 50% off. 65% off can be found in some of their sales. There's spring and damages sales. There's always a $50 gift card given away at the end of every month from our show, courtesy of InStockTrades.com. $50 or more in an order gives you free shipping in the United States. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com. I don't have my mic up, I just discovered. Was there a question about Batman and Neal Adams?
This question. What's the best imprint Batman book by Adams to pick up?
I don't think there's an answer for that. Because I think the Tales of the Demon is out of print.
Maybe you can still find it at local shops or something.
Yeah, I would urge you to look for Batman. I would guess this Tales of the Demon Deluxe would be the way to go. I wouldn't be surprised if DC reissued that sooner rather than later, best on that. Yeah, and he does have 2 or 3 stories in Brave and Bold. Oh, you have this too, Raphael? Nice.
Men of good taste.
Yeah. But that's the issue, is that there's no big, complete, original Neal Adams Batman stuff out there. You really have to search just to find a couple stories here and a couple stories there.
Yeah.
So,
Or if you have the digital subscription, I'm sure they have some of that run on there, like the DC Universe app or whatever.
that's an interesting point. I wonder if it's unretouched on the app.
Yeah.
That I have that app. That is a good point. That is something for me to research. Good idea.
You can bring it up on the Saturdays show.
Yeah, that is a really good idea. To be able to access it anyway. If you're gonna, yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think of. I can still picture the world's finest. It was a red cover, and I think it was the first Neal Adams work for DC. It was 1968, and it was, I don't know, it was kind of a goofy, interesting story with both of them, Batman and Superman involved. It was kind of a touching story, I remember. But it's a red story. Oh wait, maybe I'm getting that. No. Yeah, it's got Supergirl and Batgirl and Batman. Their faces are on the just their faces are looking at each other with a character in the center in shadow.
I think it's this one.
Saying like, "Who am I?"
This one?
Boom.
Yeah.
That one, the "Who am I" one.
These four heroes will destroy themselves fighting over me. Who am I?
That's the first one that I read that had Neal Adams art. And wait, I know that's a Neal Adams cover on the Superman and Batman Revenge Squads.
Yeah.
What are can you tell me the numbers there? The issue numbers?
175 and 176.
Okay, I can't remember if 175 has Neal Adams art in it, but I know 176 does. It's a great cover, and I loved that. I bet that red 176 is probably really tough to find in good shape because of that solid red cover.
Oh, I can imagine.
I mean, if you could find like a 9.4 cover of that, wow, what a beautiful piece of history to own. That red cover is just striking.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there was a Superman and Batman Revenge Squad.
William Lee asked, if you had to read only one Neal Adams work, which would it be?
I personally would recommend the Green Lantern, Green Arrow stuff. That's the most powerful stuff in comics early history to me.
Yeah,
and it's still
Batman, yes, I think like he revitalized the character, but that character already existed. So it's more of like a relaunch, if you will. Whereas the Green book, there's more depth to it, I guess, with the story, if that makes sense. Like with the Batman stuff, that character has always been around, but with the Green Arrow stuff, you're like doing something completely new with it.
Yeah,
is what I think.
Like Batman wasn't doing any. Batman was still fighting a foe like Ra's al Ghul, whereas Green Lantern and Green Arrow were tackling social issues.
Yeah.
They were going on a trip across America to see America with a guardian from Oa, to see the beauty of America and also what was wrong with America. And so I think get hard traveling heroes if you can't get the absolute. That would be my recommendation.
There you go. N-Man, thanks to my uncle, I have the, what is B&B? Brave and the Bold? Omnibus volumes? Yeah. The art is incredible. The Adams covers in volume 1 by him are great.
Yeah, that's a good point. He had a very long history of doing covers for DC.
Oh, I have a wiki link here with all his bibliography, and there's so many covers that he worked on up until recently. It's insane.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it again. I closed it earlier. Dang it. Oh, here it is. So this is a wiki article here. Let me share this. I do have one page before we wrap up that I do want to share. A couple of tributes from famous people,
Oh,
which I
good.
thought
Why
was
don't you
really
do that?
nice.
Because I'm about to die here on the vine.
Sorry.
All right. I've talked 40 minutes longer than I thought I could.
You're. I mean, when it comes to Omnibros, when people think of Neal Adams and that era, you're the go-to guy. So I know everybody was excited or under different circumstances, but um, they were happy to hear you talk about your love for Adams artwork. Is what I mean.
Yeah, you're right. I do have a passion for it.
So here is look at all the cover art issues here for DC. All of this.
Wow.
From A Heroic Journey, Action Comics, All Star Batman and Robin, DC Specials, Deadman, Deathstroke. He even did Aquaman stuff, by the way. That's something that people kind of forget.
Oh, let's see. Can we see some of those? Can you?
Yeah.
What do
He
those
even
look
did
like?
variants for Wonder Woman and Conan, the Gail Simone book.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Adams, Aquaman. You pull off some
Yeah, let's see
images
if I
here.
recognize those covers.
This one, I think you will. It's pretty iconic when it comes to Aquaman.
Oh, yeah. That's Neal Adams. Oh, Dead Man's in it? That's a Neal Adams cover?
I think. Uh, am I getting that right? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. It's
Okay.
him.
I can't see it that well from here, but I'll have to take your word for it. That okay, that must have had a Dead Man in it.
Yeah, there's a
Obviously, since it's an extra.
mini crossover.
That's what they were doing with Dead Man at that point, was sticking him in the back of Aquaman.
And last but not least, here are a couple tributes, which I thought was great.
Oh, good.
This was from legacy.com and had all the info and DC. A couple tributes from Jimmy Palmiotti.
Ah,
Can you see that, or do I need to zoom
yeah.
in?
No, we can see it.
Okay. This is all from Twitter, by the way. James Gunn, rest in peace to Neal Adams, one of the greats. He'll be celebrated for reinventing Batman, but one of my absolute favorites will be his art on Deadman. He was instrumental in getting Siegel and Schuster their due as Superman's co-creators in the 70s.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ron Mars, comics would not be the way they are now without Neal Adams, an immense legacy, and we are all indebted to him. Guillermo del Toro, rest
Oh,
in peace, Neal Adams, one of the first and great stylists to push USA comics to a new level. One of his lesser known works was penciling the excellent Phantom of the Paradise poster for Richard Corbin to color.
I didn't know that. I remember seeing Phantom of the Paradise in the theaters.
Let me see if I can grab this
It was
image.
such a wild and wacky film. I didn't know he did the poster for that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Fabian Nicieza. He
Right.
changed what superhero comic art could be. He fought to change how creators should be treated. He was a titan of art and a tremendous advocate for the business of art.
Nice.
One more here. Nobody did it like Adams. Nobody could. God bless. Yeah. And here's
Nice.
a poster of Phantom of the Paradise. That's gnarly. That looks awesome.
It was, yeah, I remember seeing that as a teenager.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up because it's been an hour and we're both exhausted, but Jess is more exhausted than I am, so he
I
wins
don't know.
that.
You're what? Okay, I'll take the hit. Fine. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Yes, I would.
Yes, Rick. Yes, absolutely.
I would. I think that it's fine for the modern reader to read. I think I think it holds up.
Yeah.
Thanks to my co-host for doing this with me, even though he was exhausted, and thanks to the audience for watching. And thanks to everybody else who is maybe checking this out afterwards. And of course, thank you to In Stock Trades, our fabulous sponsor. You can find me, OmniDog, on OmniDog's Vault on YouTube and OmniDogs_Vault on Instagram. And where can they find you petitioning?
You can find me on my channel. That's A Week in Geekdom, where I talk about anime and manga. Usually all the comic book talk happens here on this channel. And thank you guys for a full week of Omnibros. All of you tuned in and watched us every single weeknight, which is insane. We're probably not going to do that again anytime soon. But
Ever.
But it was great. Thank you. We'll be back Monday with hauls, previews, reads, all that cool stuff.
Let me just say that I have a couple of hauls now because IST is not only back to what they used to be, they're better than they used to be. I have gotten 2 hauls so fast I can't even unbox them fast enough to read them. I swear I just ordered this thing on Tuesday and it already came here today. So I'll have some stuff to show on Monday because IST is just popping this stuff out, which is great.
Nice. Hold on. If it took me 40 years to get a drawing from Neal Adams, had a floating rate, pay me 5, you get a 5 sketch. 100, you get 100. I picked a Pettis Hawkeye in color for $15. Wow.
Yeah, he was kind of famous for what he charged.
Yeah. But he has a long-lasting legacy in that pantheon of great comic book creators. And if his only thing is that and maybe doing the whole Hollow Earth thing, I think you're a good guy at the end of the day. You know?
Oh, yeah. I think that N-Man 40 said that earlier a comment. I didn't get to see it. I didn't get to see it very much of it, but I think he said that in a certain forum, negative about Neal Adams. As curmudgeonly as some of the people are in the MMW forum, I've never seen any post there that mentioned anything negative about the Neal Adams Batman Omni since summer of 2020.
Yeah.
He was well respected and loved, and at the end, that's all any of us can want. Really.
Yeah.
That's how I'm
that.
I'll settle for loved.
Or peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. Peace and love. Peace and love.